amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just their professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at pahlincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, their passion for happier, healthier, furry friends.
I'm Karen Carr. I've been a realtor for 31 years. When I made a company change 12 years ago, I chose Lincoln First Realty, now NP Dodge. It's the oldest independently owned realty company in the country. Since becoming NP Dodge, we've continued our tradition of community involvement. Our management and staff are always available to offer support in marketing, technology, social media, and educational opportunities.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 402-434-2222.
It's the holiday season. Time for work parties, friend get-togethers, and family gatherings, which means lots of eating. Maybe you think you've perfected your holiday meals, and maybe you have no idea where to even start. Let's fix that right now. No holiday party is complete without Führer's cheese spread. It goes well with any type of cracker, pretzels, apples, chili, vegetable chips, and of course, it's perfect to pair with wine or beer. Holiday meals aren't complete until Führer's cheese spread is on the table. Find your own container at your nearest local grocery store today.
Things that impair you come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are the shape of beer and liquor bottles. Others look like cigarettes but aren't cigarettes at all. These are the things we know impair us, the things our parents warned us about. What we're not always aware of is our new prescription, or the over-the-counter medicine we picked up just for allergies or a bad cold. See, it doesn't just matter how much of a substance you take. If you are impaired, driving is deceptively dangerous. Don't drive impaired. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in to Ticket Weeknights. Harrison Arns on the ones and twos. So we got the second show that Arden Louchheim will be doing for us here on a weekly basis right here in 93.7 Ticket. If you guys want to join in, 402-464-5685. This is a Locked In with Louchheim. Possible name change down the road, but that's what it is at least for tonight. Arden, how's it going on a chilly Thursday night here in the capital city?
It was so cold today. I have been freezing all day long. It was a day full of errands for me with a little bit of practice mixed in, and my goodness, I was cold. I was wearing this hoodie all day, and I needed more.
Yeah.
I think I'm from Utah, and I have this chip on my shoulder about cold and weather that I think I can, always survive it, and it didn't quite happen for me today. But yeah, like Harrison said, joining 93.7 for another show every week. I'm very excited. I also host Big Red Birdies with my teammate Mackenzie, and we do that every Tuesday at 8. And then over here for Locked In with Louchheim, like you said, might change it, might keep it, we'll see. But this one's kind of just more my show. Just come in every week, and I think I have a unique experience being a student athlete, but also a broadcasting major, and we'll jump a little more into that. But just my thoughts on different sporting events every week, different stories in sports, kind of just whatever's on my mind. I get to hop on the mic in here for an hour every single week. So maybe a little bit of stream of consciousness, whatever's on my mind, which just pops up during the week. But I could not be more excited to be joining for another show, get on the mic for a second time during the week. So today's show might be a little less on my takes, although I still have a couple prepared, but wanted to kind of let everyone know a little bit about me and who I am and kind of how I came to be here. So if you listen to Big Red Birdies, it might be a little bit of a repeat, but we'll focus a little more also just on me as a person rather than a golfer. So like we said, my name is Arden Louchheim, Locked In with Louchheim. I was born in Seattle, Washington, and it has to be mentioned I'm a big Seahawks fan. I'll try to stay unbiased, but I just want to be a
Seahawks fan.
I just want to get it out there. This is our year. I feel great. I could not be happier with the team. We just pitched a shutout against the Vikings. Feel phenomenal. That will be a common theme. I'll keep an unbiased, perspective to an extent. But when it comes to the Hawks, I just can't hang it up. If they make the playoffs, I might, well, they're making the playoffs, but if they go far in the playoffs, I might walk in here with a Hawks jersey one of the nights. We'll see.
Do you got a Sam Darnold jersey yet?
I don't. So I had 3 Russell Wilson jerseys.
Ooh.
And I support that decision still because
I mean,
I've
that
been
was his best version of Wilson that we saw.
Exactly. And but then once he left and I didn't really know who else to get, so I just got the 12th fan jersey, which is, like the Seahawks big thing. And that's a good bet because it's a good investment because it'll stay solid regardless of who's on the team. So yeah, I grew up I was born in Seattle, Washington. We moved when I was 3 over to Park City, Utah. And that's where I spent most of my life. And I was that kid whose parents had a bunch of different sporting equipment in the back of the car. And we just went from practice to practice. They'd pick me up from school and, I'd go skiing and then they would pick me up from skiing and we'd go inside and go to the golf simulator. And it was kind of just out and about. Sports was always my thing. And that's what I really found my niche in. That's what I found my passion for. And my parents were really incredible to support me to do that. And they just were always on board for whatever I wanted to do. And it happened that sports was kind of the thing I was good at. Don't ask me to draw something. Don't ask me to play an instrument. That's going to be a recipe for disaster. But sports was my thing. So played a bunch of sports growing up, and ski racing, downhill ski racing, and golf were the 2 that I really stuck with. Ski racing's pretty big in Utah, given the mountains and the snow and all of that. And my school had a ski academy, so that was a pretty big part of my life. And finally decided to focus on golf going into my junior year of high school. And the recruiting process was a learning experience. I can't say it was my favorite experience of my life. I wouldn't want to go through it again. I think it was a pretty stressful process to go through as a junior in high school. I think anyone who goes through the recruiting process could probably say the same thing, but I learned a lot from it. It was a lot of good, talks with coaches, and you kind of learn to sell yourself. So I know that down the road, that's going to be very helpful for me to have gotten that experience. But ultimately, Nebraska had everything that I wanted with the big football on Saturdays and the incredible journalism program, which is what I'm majoring in. And obviously the golf team was incredible. And the girls who brought me into the team my freshman year were great. Coach Sutherland and Coach Zedrick were my coaches my first 2 years, and they were awesome. And now we have a newer team with a new head coach and a new assistant coach. And it's been a really fun year, but it's been funny for me being a junior of you come back and you expect to kind of know the ropes and know what to expect when you enter into practice every day and you enter into workouts. And it's kind of been another learning year already. So I'm looking forward to senior year to maybe finally feel comfortable, but I also think it's good for me to be kept on my toes and, keep learning and all of that good stuff. So yeah, it's been my favorite 3 years of my life by far. I'm happy to say I've been at the same place for 3 years. That's not always super common in college athletics these days, but been a Husker for all 3 years. And now it's basically my home away from home. I've gotten, basically a second family here and a second group of friends. And I absolutely love, being at Nebraska and wearing the N on my chest and everything from the sports standpoint. And then on the other side with my schooling, I'm a sports media major with a focus in broadcasting, also a psychology minor, but that doesn't really come to play in the broadcasting that often. That's more of a kind of a passion project, I guess. But yeah, sports media major, and I really want to go into sports broadcasting. So my thing was I realized growing up that I loved sports, but I know I can't play sports forever. Even if I go pro, that day is going to end. And so broadcasting is a great way for me to stay involved. And I was lucky enough to have 2 parents who worked in that industry and showed me that it was a realistic path to actually make a living. And my dad still works in the industry. My mom hung it up when I was born, actually, because I have an older brother and it was really hard to have 2 parents traveling to different sporting events. But my mom was really cool because she has showed me that she's a female Asian American, that you can still make a name for yourself in the industry. And then my dad also does an incredible job with his work as well. So I've had 2 great influences who showed me that that is a path that I can take. And then now in college, I've gotten to start kind of making my own name for myself and host these radio shows. The College of Journalism does a great job of giving us opportunities to call games. So I call games for our radio station all the time, Care and you. And then I also call games on Big Ten Plus, and those ones can be viewed nationally, which is really cool. So it's been a really fun combo to both be in the athletic department and be a student athlete myself, and then also be a reporter and cover the different students that I walk past in the halls. So I've had a couple funny instances with it, where one time I was prepping for a basketball game and I had their roster pulled up on my computer, and I was researching, I think it was Callan, who now we're friends. Callan Hake is one of the senior point guards on the team, or for me a forward. But I was researching her and prepping for a game, and she walked up behind me and like looked at my computer, and I could see her do a double take at me. It's like, why are you looking me up? So just funny stuff like that. Maybe got to be careful of who's behind me so I don't look like a stalker. But now that was sophomore year. Now my junior year, I think a lot of the athletes kind of know loosely what I do, and it's fun before games to have a couple of them come up to me on the sidelines and we catch up and talk. And Amaya Hargrove is someone I've gotten to know better this year just through different volunteering events and stuff like that. And it was funny because I was in the same room as her the other day, and I was showing her the hit I did on her in the open of one of the Big Ten Plus games, and I was hyping her up because she had just had a career high. So it's really, really fun for me to be able to experience being an athlete and kind of have that perspective, but then also kind of put on my reporter and broadcasting hat and do that. And I think it does give me a unique perspective that I do truly understand on a personal level what every athlete goes through and what their days look like on a day-to-day basis. It's can't be overstated how busy we all are, and our schedules are built to work around us and work for us, but it's still a lot of time commitment and just a lot of stress and focus and everything that has to go into being an elite athlete. So I think that I can also maybe relate to them on a level that a couple of the other people can't. So very long-winded way of saying that these have been 3 pretty phenomenal years, and then just another tick on the resume really to add my own show and get to just talk about sports every week. So
Couple of shows at that.
Yeah, two shows now, which is the golf one's great. Just talk about golf. This one definitely stretches me a little more of let's go beyond golf and actually look at sports as a whole. So my hope for this show is that every week I'll kind of come in and talk to you about my week as a Husker student athlete and also a broadcasting major, because I think that I have a moment almost every week where I'm just think, oh, this is crazy. And so I want to talk about those things every time that we walk in here. And then I'll also walk you through my takes of the week. I'll, try to have some Husker takes in there, which we'll have this week, but also just go around the nation, go into pro sports, go into other college sports, and just talk ball basically. And then we'll close out ideally with games to watch, and that can meld and kind of mesh with what I think is proper and what I think the show, will be best for. But that's kind of the general structure that I think you can expect as we kind of carry on with this show. So going into it, my first, maybe it's not a take of the week, but I think my first story of the week is Britt Prince's phenomenal start to the season. She was all Big Ten freshman team. She really couldn't have had a better freshman season. And then she has just topped that. She had 17 points in their recent win over Bradley. And that was one of her not less good games of the year, but it was honestly an underperformance considering that she's averaging 21.4 points right now. She has averaged 13.4 points last season. And that was, like I said, a great season. She's added 7 points to that average. And, you can say, okay, they've played non-con games, all of that. Sure. It still is very impressive to average 21 points a game, and that's placing her 13th in the nation right now. So I would say Britt Prince is making a case for herself to be one of the best point guards in women's college hoops right now. It's been really interesting to watch as well because they added the transfer Haley Weaver over to their team, and they've been running some of the balls and the plays through her. And so Britt has almost been able to take on the new role of not only dishing the ball out, but also receiving it. And so I think that has to do partly with why she's seen such an increase in production, but I also think it's just taking that step from freshman to sophomore year, getting more comfortable. I've gotten to speak with her a couple times this year, and a lot of what she talked about was kind of finding her voice she last year, and I can speak to this too as being a freshman athlete myself at one point, you're just figuring stuff out. I made every lineup but one my freshman year, which, I was really proud of coming in. I thought I might redshirt my freshman year, but there is nothing that exposes you being a freshman more than actually playing in events. Of when you're on the bench or you're just walking around day to day, you're going in practice, there's going to be moments where you're like, oh, wow, I feel like a freshman right now. But when you're under the lights and you're playing in real collegiate athletic events, it tests you. And so to her credit, she had a great freshman season, but it is hard to step into that more vocal role. And so now watching her do that this season is, I think, a big step for her, and also has contributed to maybe some confidence that helps with those 21 points. So,
and the efficiency to go along with the 21, that's been really impressive about her. And I think a little bit changing that offense, but it's been the efficiency of her game that's really taken her to a new level. She's not taking a ton more shots, but she's knocking down what she's getting.
Exactly. And you look at the Husker women's basketball team they've scored 80 points in every game this season. They're 8-0. They're looking for their 9th straight win and their 9th straight game over 80. And they're doing that where they often sub in a full new 5 of their second string that has, Claire Johnson, and they have Logan Nisley is coming off she starts, but then also will come in and contribute later and stuff like that. You have like the Haley Weavers and stuff like that, who there are more players who are contributing this year, and they have an entire almost second starting 5 basically, because their second string could not be called a second string. They are almost just as powerful as the starting 5. So the fact that Britt is scoring over 20 a game right now, or averaging, over 20 a game right now with a just super strong collection of characters around her is very impressive. And I'm excited to see what she does in conference play. The Husker women's basketball team starts that conference play this Saturday against Penn State. So kind of the rubber will meet the road to see if she can keep this production up, as they actually enter conference play. But it hasn't even been mentioned. She surpassed 500 career points versus Oral Roberts a couple weeks ago. She's a sophomore. And
I did not know that. That's news to me. That's crazy.
I called that game, and we entered into the game. A bunch of their players were getting close to milestones. So I think Callan was looking to get over 600 points. I think Jess Petrie was approaching maybe 300. I think Amaya was approaching 300, but all of them were between 5 to 9 points away from that milestone. So you could reasonably be like, hey, they're probably going to get that. Britt was 21 points away from 500. And we were still talking about it in pregame of being like, this could genuinely happen. And it did. She's dropped, I think, 30 exactly that game. That was her career high. It was her first 30-point game of the year, which she has now coupled with a second 30-point game. So that's another kind of tick on her resume that she hadn't done her freshman year that she's adding in now. So it'll be really, really exciting to see what she does as they enter conference play. Like I said, rubber will meet the road because they're 8-0, but they haven't faced the strongest opponents yet. So it'll be interesting to see what she and the Husker women's basketball team can do. Like I said, Saturday is that start of their conference play against Penn State.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible. The thing is that they get better every game too, is what I've been noticing. So I think, we weren't even close to seeing the best version of this team. And I think Britt Prince is the example of that. Because I think those 30-point games were back-to-back too, weren't they? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she puts those games back-to-back, and then it's just been tremendous throughout that entire roster. And then, not entirely healthy yet either. As that team gets healthy, you get some more weapons come off the bench. And
yeah, you don't have Natalie Potts right now, looking to add her later in the season. And then Allison Widener won't be playing this season, but looking to come back next season, which that's a story within itself. Allison Widener and her knees. But the Husker women's basketball team, they look strong. And like you said, they are not at full force. So, and to point to be added as well, Britt scores 17, which is nothing to laugh at, but below her normal production. But then Jess Petrie has her first double-double of the season. So they kind of fill in holes when their other girls don't maybe perform quite to how they have been all season. So both basketball teams undefeated right now. I personally am higher on the women's basketball team, but I think the men's basketball team looks great too.
Well, you're calling their game, so it's understandable they get more attached. But the thing about both those teams, why I think they're having a lot of success is, I know you talked about the bench of that women's basketball team, but you go on to the men's side as well. You could argue not nearly as deep, but when they do get in, both teams are excellent at sharing the ball this year. Like the assist totals have been really good. The assist turnover ratio, I think that's where we're seeing a lot of the magic.
Yeah, and I can speak just from a broadcasting perspective. The ball moves fast. If you don't know a player's name, the ball is 3 players away by the time you look down at your sheet and you get their name. So the ball movement is great by both of those teams, and it'll be looking forward to see kind of what both of them do as they sit at 8-0 right now. Now, my second take, we're moving away from college sports. It's a bit of a more abstract, but I was reading in the news this morning that Serena Williams looked to get eligible for drug testing again by the Tennis Integrity Agency. And so it begs the question, is Serena coming back to tennis? Which she claimed in an interview that she wasn't. She just wanted to have the option open, but she's not coming out of retirement. But it was funny because that's the first time she's ever said the word retiring. When she moved away from tennis in 2022, she didn't ever say the word retiring. She said she was evolving away from the game. Mm-hmm. So obviously she has kids now. She's been, going and doing a bit more of the influencing, I guess, and being more of a personality. But I don't think you enter in to be eligible for that drug test unless you're at least thinking of the possibility of coming back. And I think it brings up a larger question of athletes retiring or extending their career to not retire or coming out of retirement. You'd think just last week we had Frank Ragnow on the Detroit Lions, who is the 4-time Pro Bowl center, trying to come out of retirement to play for the Lions, who have an offensive line that is
They need it.
beaten up is an understatement. And then he didn't pass his physical, so he couldn't come and play. But then on the other end of the spectrum of people coming out of retirement and doing well, there's Lindsey Vonn. Obviously, I'm a skier myself. She came out of retirement to get back on the World Cup, and then she got second in her first season back at the Sun Valley World Cup. It was her first time on the podium since 2018. So clearly it can be done. But I think there's a really interesting line of when do you call it quits and truly just say, let's hang it up, let's be done. Or there is that element that to be great, a lot of these athletes have something in their mind where that competition is what drives them. And being an athlete myself, thinking about the day that I hang it up, whether that's after college or ideally beyond then, I think it would be a really hard decision. And so then it comes to a fan perspective of, do you want to see your favorite player go out on top and retire in peak form? Or do you just let them live it out and you let them kind of continue to play the game that they love? Because at some point you just do get too old. I think LeBron is, this was the first time he didn't start a season because of injury, and he's obviously still producing well. He's playing alongside his son now. So there are always going to be those exceptions, but I think a lot of people sometimes extend their career to a certain point where it gets a bit hard to watch. But I think you do have to almost respect the desire to keep playing, because it's oftentimes a lot of these people's true love, and they're doing something that, 1% of the population gets to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes it's a beautiful story into the sunset, and sometimes it's a disaster that you don't want to see your favorite player or that star player on your team go through. I'm going to stick with the Lakers. Like Kobe Bryant's career run at the end there was awesome, but hard to watch all at the same time, because everyone probably has it burned to the back of their minds. He's sitting on the bench. He's got every limb of his body taped up with ice, and then his Achilles pops. He still walks, shoots 2 free throws. And he still had that magic moment at the end versus that Utah Jazz game where he dropped 60 points. So it was one of the coolest endings to a career, and it was a legacy of Kobe Bryant left behind. But there was certainly some time in between there where you're watching those Lakers teams. Steve Nash, Dwight Howard goes down. It's the Kobe Bryant team. Lakers are struggling. They don't make the playoffs, but because of that magic finish, it turned out to be awesome. I never know who I feel on that. It's so case to case on some of these players. Some of these players, I'm like, I wish he wouldn't have come back because it hurt the legacy. But in the case of Kobe, you could have made the argument maybe he should have retired early, but the way he went out was so impressive that it just added to his legacy.
I think there's part of it where when you talk about a truly great player, you never talk about the end of their career. It might be a throw-in comment if they did, stay in too long and they just say, you're like, yeah, they probably should have hung it up a bit sooner, but, they have 7 NBA championships, so you can't really argue with it. But then there's people like Tiger Woods, who's now on his 7th back surgery. Yeah. And that's pretty hard to watch as a fan myself. It was really cool to watch him win that Masters, but you could argue that maybe hang it up after that. He goes through the car crash and then now 3 more back surgeries. Yeah. And it's tough to see. So like I said, we kind of jumped around, went from Britt all the way over to Serena Williams, and we'll have a couple more pivots when we come back. But we will be back for some more sports talk. Arden Louchheim here on Locked In with Louchheim on 93.7 The Ticket.
Hey guys, it's Carly from Boyd Farm Outfitters. Farmers, you need to know about Green Eye Spot Spray. With Green Eye, we replace your existing spray boom with a brand new aluminum boom equipped with camera technology that identifies and sprays only weeds and not your crop. The boom comes with 2 spray lines so you can still broadcast residual herbicide while you're spot spraying weeds that are up. Green Eye users in Nebraska are saving a ton of money on herbicides, but that's just the beginning. Learn more at BoydFarmOutfitters.com. That's BOECK FarmOutfitters.com.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to O Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet. O Street Carpet. 1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just their professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at pahlincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, their passion for happier, healthier, furry friends.
I'm Karen Carr. I've been a realtor for 31 years. When I made a company change 12 years ago, I chose Lincoln First Realty, now NP Dodge. It's the oldest independently owned realty company in the country. Since becoming NP Dodge, we've continued our tradition of community involvement. Our management and staff are always available to offer support in marketing, technology, social media, and educational opportunities.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 402-434-2222.
It's the holiday season. Time for work parties, friend get-togethers, and family gatherings, which means lots of eating. Maybe you think you've perfected your holiday meals, and maybe you have no idea where to even start. Let's fix that right now. No holiday party is complete without Führer's cheese spread. It goes well with any type of cracker, pretzels, apples, chili, vegetable, chips, and of course, it's perfect to pair with wine or beer. Holiday meals aren't complete until Führer's cheese spread is on the table. Find your own container at your nearest local grocery store today.
Things that impair you come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are the shape of beer and liquor bottles. Others look like cigarettes but aren't cigarettes at all. These are the things we know impair us, the things our parents warned us about. What we're not always aware of is our new prescription, or the over-the-counter medicine we picked up just for allergies or a bad cold. See, it doesn't just matter how much of a substance you take. If you are impaired, driving is deceptively dangerous. Don't drive impaired. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Midwest Bank is hosting our annual Thanksgiving food drive, partnering with local Lincoln schools to provide Thanksgiving dinners to families in need. We hope to provide meals for more than 120 families in our community this year. You can help by dropping off a donation at either Midwest Bank location, 7001 Pioneers Boulevard or 2655 Jamie Lane. Any donation is greatly appreciated. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank, member FDIC.
Fall is officially here, and Brown's Shoe Fit has just the right style and comfort your feet deserve. Stop in to see a wide selection of all your favorite brands, including Brooks, Hoka, Echo, Keen, and many more. At Brown's Shoe Fit, they take the time to measure your feet to ensure proper fit. They also have the largest selection of Uggs and Hokas in Lincoln. Brown's Shoe Fit at 66th and Q.
This is where it happens. Long hikes with friends, kayaking adventures with family, more horseback riding, zipline gliding, rock face climbing, hammock camping fun than you could ever imagine. And it's all outdoors, amongst the trees and across the prairie, here beneath Nebraska skies. Plan an outing today at yournebraskaadventure.com. Sponsored by Nebraska Game and Parks, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. This is Locked In with Louchheim. I am Harrison Arnett, the ones and twos for Ticket Weeknights. As always, you guys can join in 402-464-5685, Facebook, YouTube, XL, Channel 961. All great ways to put a face to the voice. And again, if this is new to you, it should be. This is the debut of Locked In with Louchheim. This will be a weekly show from 8 to 9 p.m. every week. And as you mentioned, you also got Big Red at Birdies on Tuesdays. That will be going from 8 to 9. So we got Arn Louchheim doing a couple shows for us here on Ticket Weeknights.
They keep letting me come in, and so I just keep coming. No, I'm very excited to be doing both of those shows. And like we said, it's really all over. Big Red Birdie's a bit more focused on golf. This one, we're really jumping around. We've talked about Britt Prince already, talked about Serena Williams and the concepts of retiring. Now, maybe a bit more mainstream. I want to talk NFL. Obviously, Harrison, you mentioned you're a Bears fan, so you're pretty happy right now.
Incredible.
I'm a Husker fan. I am a Husker fan. I'm a Seahawks fan, so I'm also pretty happy right now. Fans that might not be too happy right now, the Cowboys. The Lions are currently beating the Cowboys 17-6. Huge matchup there as the Lions sit in on the bubble. They're 7-5. The Cowboys 6-5-1. The Cowboys, if they lose tonight, only have an 8% chance of making the playoffs. And on the other hand, the Lions, if they win, 54% chance. But I think it brings us to a bigger discussion of the playoff picture is looking pretty wild right now. You have the Chiefs sitting outside the playoffs. Lions are outside it currently. They'll look a little better if they can pull off the win tonight. The Bills are barely sneaking in at the moment alongside the 49ers look a little better, but they're still in that 7 spot. So I think it brings up the question of, is the idea of this big star quarterback dead? Because you have Josh Allen, you have Patrick Mahomes, you have people like Joe Burrow and Jared Goff, which we talked about it. The Lions have had a slew of injuries for their O-line. So with football, there's always going to be other factors coming into play. But if you look at teams like the Seahawks with Sam Darnold, or no hate to Justin Fields, but he's probably not a top name in the NFL. I think it shows that when you are cashing out at the quarterback position, it's hard to create depth in other places. And so I think that is likely why, teams like the Chiefs or the Bills look okay, but the Bills and stuff like that are looking a little bit questionable. Then you have these other teams with the Broncos. I can't sit here and say that I think the Broncos are a high quality team. They've inched out practically every single win. I think it's been by 4 points or less of the last 7.
Yeah, it's been defensive battles.
Yes.
It's been a little bit of I never like calling them sophomore slumps, because I think defensive coordinators just start eyeing down what those quarterbacks did in that rookie year. But he's certainly not maybe having the same year fans expected. But that defense is legit.
Yeah, defense is real. And then over the Patriots as well, they have Drake May. And like I said, not a bad quarterback, but no one is coming into the season saying, oh, best quarterbacks in the NFL, that's Drake May. And so I think that it is interesting of the teams that are thriving right now are kind of powered by defense, by the run, by maybe positions outside of the quarterback. I would say the Rams are probably one of the outliers from that. Matt Stafford is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But besides that, a lot of production coming from other sides. And I think Sam Darnold is also, not just because I'm a Seahawks fan, I think he's a very interesting quarterback to look at, because he's kind of breaking the norm that you can't turn over the ball to win games. The Seahawks, I can tell you as a fan, they are so hard to watch right now. We turn the ball over so much. But because the defense is strong enough, they're getting it back every single time. The Vikings are, when you play the Vikings, you play the Titans, those teams aren't that good to begin with, so you can get away with it. But you can't turn the ball over the amount of times that Sam Darnold did in the game last week. I think it was 3 or 4. And they held the Vikings to a shutout. That's almost unheard of. So I think the larger scape of football is changing right now. I think that it's becoming a much more of a spread the love game. I'm very, very interested to see how the rest of this season shakes out with the amount of great teams sitting on the bubble. The bubble is not really a term that you often use for the NFL. It's often more in the hunt. But to me, half of those teams don't feel like they're hunting. They truly feel like they are sitting on a bubble of just waiting for other teams to, make stuff happen for them.
Yeah, it's been an incredible year. I don't think, even like the Baltimore Ravens, where if they lose next week, their playoff odds. Yeah, so you're looking at playoffs with maybe no Mahomes. We talked about the Bills; they're kind of hanging on, and then you're like, you might end up a scenario where you do no Lamar Jackson, no Josh Allen, no Patrick Mahomes. Then you might look up and see Bo Nix, Drake May, Caleb Williams, a lot of dudes on rookie contracts. So to your point, how are we going to build up this roster where you don't got to pay your quarterback a ton of money? Makes it a lot easier to plug in those pieces. And, the Bills have kind of done it in a different way as well. They have avoided paying major money into wide receivers. It's worked out for them in the past, but this year it's kind of fallen apart. So, like I said, I don't think anybody can anticipate the playoff picture right now. And there's still going to be a lot of turmoil to finish this season, especially when you look at some of these teams that are sitting in place and then you look at their last 4 games, like my Bears included. They got a battle right now. And then some of these other teams, you might want to count them out. They kind of got a cupcake schedule towards the end here. So I think we're still going to see a ton of volatility before this thing wraps up.
Should be very interested. I'm surprised you didn't correct me. Credit to you being a Bears fan and biting your tongue. I said Justin Fields was your quarterback. You guys have Caleb
Yeah, we have
Williams out
Caleb
there.
Williams. I think, Justin Fields was a guy I always rooted for. So, I'd like to call him one of our own. I always felt bad for him. He was a guy who, even when he was with the Bears, we didn't really set him up great. And then he goes to the Steelers. They're 4-2. It's like, might have found a home. Nah, next season they move on. They give, what was it, Wilson, right? Yeah, Wilson gets the start. And then he goes to the New York Jets. And then the owner of the New York Jets blames the losing games on him solely. What a tough run for Justin Fields. I just feel for that player right there, because Justin Fields just not had the best organizations around him. And sometimes I think that's why you look at the Browns, you look at the Jets. It's not that they can't draft a quarterback. It's they can't support a quarterback.
It's funny because I don't remember. There was a quarterback the other day was not playing well in a certain system. And I saw something online that was just, this quarterback is showing that it's not, literally no one can play well in that system. And I think that is the case in certain teams. And there's also interesting players like Sam Darnold, who he played very well at the Vikings. And I was very surprised when Minnesota traded him, but he is clearly doing very well under Mike McDonald and the rest of the Seattle Seahawks system. And, it's just, it clicks for certain people. And I think it's interesting to see where quarterbacks do well of, Matthew Stafford, at the Lions, he was a strong quarterback, but then goes to the Rams and he's doing great. Same way Jared Goff, then they switch places and Jared Goff's doing great with the Lions. So always hard to kind of find the correct fit and stuff like that. But I had to be insult to injury for the Vikings last weekend when you actively gave up Sam Darnold and you are scoreless, which I will say that quarterback was their second-ish, third string quarterback, because
I mean, they deserve the situation that they're in, though. I know I have a show with the Morning Personnel that'll be on later tonight, and we always talk about one of the most egregious moves was, how can you not hold on to that guy? He gave Kevin O'Connell one of the best statistical seasons from a quarterback, even better than some of Kirk Cousins' best seasons. And I'll never understand that. It's one of the hardest things to do in the NFL is get that quarterback, and then when you have a team like the Vikings, who got a guy in Sam Darnold, and then move on away from it that quickly, to get a mystery box in JJ McCarthy, hoping that he'll be great. And obviously it hasn't been off to a great start. Same thing with the Browns back in the day. You got Baker Mayfield. He does the thing that everyone's been begging for. He not only takes it to a playoff game, he wins one for you. Then the next season he's playing beat up though. And you don't give him any grace for that and you trade him. And then you bring in a guy who's got a ton of baggage out of the Houston Texans, who's, I can't remember the last time he played. So
baggage is a polite way to put that.
Yeah, baggage is because I don't want to get the FCC on me, because there's a lot of details of that. Boy, tough case there. So yeah, it's always, the more I get into this, the more I look at it as the organization's got to be right if the quarterback's even going to pan out.
Oh, 100%. So like we said, the Thursday night game, huge for both the Lions and the Cowboys right now. And it's hard to pick just one game this weekend over for the NFL, because many teams where if they lose, their chances of making the playoffs go down to, below 10%. If they win, they can stay above 50. You look over at the Chiefs. If they lose this weekend against Houston, down to 11% chance to make the playoffs. If they win, 48% chance. So Patrick Mahomes really basically in a must-win situation, which not something you often say as you enter week 14 in the NFL. As a NFL fan myself, not even just of the Seahawks, but as a whole, very excited for this weekend. And then you have college football on Saturday, so should be a great lineup. We'll touch a little more on both of those things over in this final segment as I talk about games that I will be sitting down to watch. But the final concept, or I guess idea, that I wanted to talk about this week was the NBA in-season tournament. I think it is the wildest development in sports recently. I understand you're trying to get more viewership in the early season games. I do get that. It's kind of like the different sort of tournaments in soccer. It's so odd to me to just throw a random tournament in the middle of your season. It doesn't count extra. There's more money on the line, but that's about it. Every single one of the games, except for the championship game, is just counted as a regular season game.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's mixed opinions on it, but I wanted to hear from you, and if there happens to be anyone even after the show who's listening, I want to know everyone's opinions on the in-season tournament.
Pointless. Like I had said, it just doesn't do anything. I think the first year you caught some buzz. This year you're even seeing, not a whole lot on it when they announce the champion. It's, it's a thing for a day and then everybody moves on. the format, it's just not enough. There's not enough at stake to make it interesting enough for me in the regular season. I don't think I really see a jump in performance until you get to that championship game. And the courts are just hideous to look at on top of everything else. And I know the courts are a minor part of it, but it's not doing a whole lot. It's just you're trying to sell something that it feels like no one's buying into. Can you continue to do it? Sure. Is it going to draw the people to the TV? I really doubt it.
I think that it'll become something that people will watch if it becomes an indicator of something later in the season. Is if you can start seeing some correlation between good performance in the in-season tournament and, a deep playoff run, I think then that's interesting. But, it's the same thing of when you look at NFL teams of if they play well in their divisional games, that's usually an indicator of, obviously it affects if they're going to make the playoffs, but then can also show if they're going to play well in the playoffs. I think if you have something like that, then it becomes interesting to watch, interesting to talk about, just because it becomes relevant for something later down the road. But I think that the issue with the tournament is exactly that of it's only relevant if it has to do with something later down the road. No one cares if you're an NBA Cup champion. I would guess if I asked the average person if what was going on in the NBA right now, they wouldn't know that the quarterfinals are about to start in the NBA Cup. And like you said, the courts are a minor thing. That's the biggest thing I know about the in-season tournament. Before, I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about tonight, and that kind of came to my mind. And it was because the biggest thing I knew is that the Timberwolves had a hideous green court the other night. The Jazz are rocking a purple court, which is, if that's the most well-known thing about your tournament, yes, it's a draw. Yes, people are going to see it, but it's mostly just doing numbers on social media more than getting viewers to your TV, which I think that could be part of it, of, social media influencing sports these days. But
yeah, I don't know. It's almost like offensive, like on kids' TV shows, they'll put a bunch of bright colors and stuff. So the kids will watch it. It's like, I don't know if that's the mindset of NBA. If they put something super bright and pops in your face that it'll draw attention, that might really be it. Or they're trying to do something cool. The NBA is just in a little bit of like a cosmetic crisis too. I haven't also been the biggest fan of the Nike jerseys. Like the biggest for me was like the Lakers are banana yellow and purple now.
Yes.
Not even the purple and gold. So the NBA for a long time, and Adam Silver is taking a brunt of this, and I think rightfully so, has been really trying to figure out how do we build this thing up, because we went on from Magic Bird, and then you get Magic Bird, you get Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, and now you got a bunch of foreign players that you're not really elevating the same way you did those guys. A little bit of identity crisis for Adam Silver. I mean, they're still going to make money, but the viewership is noticeably been going down.
Yeah, it's also just I think being a sport in a day and age where people's attention span is just shrinking as we speak, is the fact that baseball is even still watched. And I know they've done pitch clock and everything like that. It genuinely should be studied, the changes that they have made in their sport to still stay relevant, because that sport goes against everything that the modern human likes to partake in. Is it takes a long time, there's not a lot of action, and it's the longest season you can imagine. They play hundreds of games. It's actually insane. Not quite hundreds, but the MLB season is going more than it's not. And I think the NBA needs to, not that they have quite the issue of length of time or stuff like that, but I think that the in-season tournament was a sort of effort to try to increase that viewership and, maybe get some of those clicks online like I talked about and stuff like that. But I am interested to see if it does become an indicator, because then I think it does become relevant. Of strong teams won it in the past 2 years. It was Los Angeles in 2023 and then the Bucks in last season. So should be interesting to see. Should be noted, it's meaningful for the young players. The winning team gets $500,000 a player. So, when you're on a rookie contract, that can make a difference. But that's about all they're playing for when it comes to that in-season tournament. So love to hear your guys' thoughts on what you think of the NBA in-season tournament. If you think it's going to be something that grows and maybe it just is taking time to set its roots, or if it's, not quite striking the chord for you. But we'll be back here in just a second, locked in with Louchheim here on 93.7 The Ticket.
The savings continue all November long at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln. They're extending their red tag sale with machines priced at invoice plus $300. That's it. No freight, no setup, no extra fees. Plus 10% off snowplow kits, 10% off fly motocross gear, and 50% off all in-stock road tires. Elway Power Sports of Lincoln has you covered all under one roof with a large selection of side-by-sides, ATVs, motorcycles, and personal watercraft at their 27th and I-80 location. They can't wait to get you set up for the holiday season.
This Black Friday, it is time to hit your goals before the new year even starts. At Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping, get 40% off our next 10-week challenge, plus 6 weeks for free to kickstart your fitness journey. Start training December 1st with kickboxing, strength training, and personalized nutrition. So when our official challenge begins January 10th, you're already ahead of the game. Spots are limited. Don't wait for January to make your resolution. Start strong now. Visit fxbeatlincoln.com or stop by one of our 2 locations at South 40th and Yankee Hill or North 70th and Vine. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping. Stronger starts here.
MWR is dedicated to building attractive, affordable steel buildings that exceed your expectations. From commercial to residential to agriculture storage, steel buildings are cost-effective, attractive, and versatile. Plus, they're a lasting investment and an ideal choice. MWR uses Sentinel Building Systems out of Albion and can service you all over the state and region. If you have interest in a steel building, post-frame building, or fencing, give MWR a call today at 402-980-5273 or go to mwrbuildingandfence.com.
Hi, Charlie Stone here, and it's that time of the year again. Time for the annual Happy Honda Days at Honda of Lincoln. With me on the line, Andy Goodyear, to tell us all about it.
The exciting news is we have more selection and more savings. We have over 400 new 2025 and 2026 Hondas to choose from, with a great opportunity to get year-end savings on every remaining new 2025.
Do you have some Happy Honda Day specials?
Sure do, Charlie. For example, you can lease a new 2025 Accord Sport Hybrid for just $349 a month, and we have financing from just 0% APR. We've also included over 125 pre-owned of all makes and models, and as always, our certified pre-owns are in this sale as well.
Well, maybe it's time you experience the best. The Honda of Lincoln way of doing business. 27th and Yankee Hill Road or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
This holiday season, give the gift of good taste with a gift card from Valentino's. During double discount days, double your discount from $5 to $10 free with a $50 gift card purchase. Valentino's handcrafted pizza has been a family favorite for generations, and our gift cards make the perfect holiday gift. And right now, during gift card double discount days, when you buy $50 in gift cards, get a $10 gift card free. Happy holidays from Valentino's.
Leaves are falling and temperatures are cooling down, but don't put your golf clubs away. Double Eagle Golf makes golf leagues and events possible year-round. Winter leagues begin on December 1st and are open for registration. Check out their deals on monthly memberships and schedule your Husker Watch parties, birthday or bachelor parties, corporate or team outings, or just a good old Saturday with the boys. That's all at Double Eagle Golf inside the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street. Book a tee time today or learn more at doubleeagle.golf.
Acreage owner getting ready for winter? Make it easy with John Deere compact tractors and gators from Acres Equipment. Add snow blowers, front blades, cabs, heaters, and loaders to tackle every chore. Right now, in-stock units are priced to move with competitive financing to fit your budget. Get winter ready today at acres.com. Acres Equipment, your acreage handled. Financing subject to approved credit with John Deere Financial. Not all customers qualify. See dealer for details.
Load up on meat and more this fall at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. From now through the end of November, Ferndale fresh turkeys are just $3.99 per pound and in limited stock, perfect for your holiday meals. Plus, you can stop by for lunch on Fired Up Thursday at the Mercado East or Fired Up Friday at the Mercado North. With locations at 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill, and now 85th and Old Cheney in Lincoln, or 168th and Maple in Omaha, get to the Mercado today for the best meat in town.
If you are a business owner, I want you to think about the amount of time you've spent worrying about safety and security. Lincoln's own experts at Diode Technologies design custom solutions for security, communication, and so much more. From automated security to secure video conferencing, their team sits down with you to get to know you and what your business needs. Manage your operations and get notified when there is suspicious activity. Save time and cut back on stress. Diode Tech always keeps you in the know. Contact them today at 402-793-5124.
Back to The Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back in. Harrison Arns still on the ones and twos final segment. Got about 5-6 minutes here before we get out of here and switch it over to Raph's Good Take on Sports. We did get a few from the comments section. Quickly want to get to pass along the kind words there, Joe. She appreciated it. And also he says the NBA doesn't do anything for me at all, which is unfortunate. I know my parents are in that same camp, and they actually got married because they were watching the Lakers together at the bar. So I know that's a pivotal moment for that older generation when a lot of them don't seem to be watching as much. And then you got the NBA fan as well saying the in-season tournament isn't entertaining for fans and it isn't beneficial for the players or coaches. Not a lot of great news on the in-season tournament.
We had an interesting thought. Maybe I think that the only way that tournament, we'll close it up quickly, but I think the only way that tournament becomes relevant is if you're playing for something. So my thought was maybe you play for an extra ping pong ball in that lottery or something like that, of something that actually has real relevance that can affect your team and affect future seasons.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. Right now, it's not enough to tell, as a fan, you don't get affected by winning. If your team wins, all those players win $500,000. That doesn't really do anything for you. It's great for the players. Maybe you're happy for them, but what is the fan winning in that scenario?
Exactly.
Nothing really to look forward to.
So, like I said, doesn't really make me tick, but maybe other people are really into those crazy colored courts. In this final segment, I wanted to talk about games that I think we should look out for this week, which what a week for me to start this segment, because we have all of the college championships this weekend for the conferences, as well as so many must-win games in the NFL, like we talked about. But first, we'll start with Husker. I wanted to dub some games of the week or game of the week, but I think I'll have two this week. The men's basketball game versus Creighton on Sunday. Always a really good matchup. The men's basketball team fighting with the loss of Connor Essegian, who is a major producer off the bench. So it'll be interesting to see who steps up to fill that role and if they can continue their undefeated season. I think when a team is undefeated, really any game becomes must watch for them, because you're trying to see if they can keep that 0 number in the loss column. And then women's basketball, I alluded to it earlier. They play Penn State on Saturday at Penn State. It's the beginning of their Big Ten play. The men's basketball team will start their Big Ten play later this week on Wednesday. So both basketball teams getting into the nitty-gritty of their conference play. And then the volleyball team begins the NCAA tournament. I wouldn't really dub this a game of the week, because given they're 30-0 and they're playing LIU, I feel pretty good about that game on Friday. But that NCAA tournament does start, and their bid to win the national championship, which I would say they've looked good the last 2 seasons. They've never looked better than they do right now. The team just seems to be gelling incredibly well. They have, some of the freshmen stepping up, and it's amazing for a team to get better when you lose Lexi Rodriguez and Merritt Beeson, but they look better than they have in past years. So really excited to see what that tournament will look like. Likely, ideally, a pretty smooth ride in the Devaney until they
should be a packed house. Long Island University, I'll just say good luck. And I don't mean that in a condescending way, but this Husker volleyball team has been incredible. And you can just go through the individual accolades. And of course, you got Danny Busboom Kelly winning Big Ten Coach of the Year. Bergen Riley with I think she got setter and Big Ten Player of the Year.
Player and setter of the year.
And then the list goes on with, first team, second team, and then you got an all freshman team with Virginia Adriano as well. So a lot of accolades, rightfully so.
Yeah, I think they had 4 members of the Big Ten first team. I want to say it was Harper Murray, Bergen Riley, Andy Jackson, and Rebecca Alex. So that entire class that came in together, Becca was 1 year older, but the Jackson, Bergen, and Harper Murray class was one that was very strong and making their mark. So beginning of NCAA play, then over to college football. What a weekend. 2 of the games that stuck out to me. I'll leave the obvious one for a second, but obviously being from Utah, this one might catch my attention a hair more, but I think the Big 12 title game between BYU and Texas Tech will be very interesting, because BYU has looked good all season long, except for their game against Texas Tech. They lost handily 29-7 in their last meeting. And then there's also a lot of the drama going on with that BYU's head coach was looking like the man for the Penn State coaching job, and then announced that he was staying. And there was a lot of, not behind the scenes stuff, but a lot that went on there. You had the CEO of Crumble saying that he was going to get off the bench and make sure that his head coach stayed in Utah. So kind of showing that people can have influence outside of the athletic department these days in college athletics, which is very interesting. Also with BYU, there always, is that spiritual aspect, and the head coach of BYU being a spiritual guy himself that had to do with it. So there was a lot that went into play with the decision to stay at BYU and not go to Penn State. So I think that's always interesting to play a game coming off of the heels of maybe less athletic discussions, or not, they're still athletic discussions, but less gameplay and game plan discussions. Hopefully it's not a distraction. Hopefully one that maybe powers them through. And then the obvious game that you have to watch, the Big Ten Championship. Ohio State, number 1 in the country. Indiana, number 2 in the country. Both of them undefeated. Must-see TV. It'll be a great game to watch of, which team walks out of there with their first loss of the season.
How do you feel about the conference champions? Like, should the conference championship games affect the playoff spots?
I think it's so hard because, it even comes to play in the divisions of the NFL. If you have really strong divisions, I would argue not trying to be a homer, but the Seahawks division has been very strong in past years. And so you can have a better record than so many teams and still not make the playoffs or be fighting for a wild card. So I think there is an element that when you win your conference championship, you deserve a spot. That's how it is in golf. If you win your conference championship, regardless of your ranking, you get a bid in. My freshman year.
So Duke?
Yes. But Indiana won Big Ten's my freshman year. They were nowhere near close qualifying for NCAA regionals, and they made it in. So I think you have an argument that if you can step up and, win your conference, I think you deserve a spot in the college football playoffs. Additionally, they've been expanded, so there are more spots in there now. But I think it is hard maybe when you have the winner of a lesser known conference that then is taking spots away from, teams in the Big Ten that I think we, have 5 of the top teams in the country. So that's a very good question there, but must-see TV with all of those conference championships. And then almost every single NFL game this weekend is must-see TV. The one I would pick, Texans, Chiefs. We talked about it. The Chiefs' chance to make the playoffs goes down to 11% if they lose, up to 48% if they win. And the Texans are in a similar boat. If they lose, they still are looking a little bit better because of that 7-5 record. They're 3rd in the AFC, but they currently 60% chance to make the playoffs. If they lose, 45. If they win, 82. So
I really thought you were going to say Bears-Packers, but that's a good game.
Bears-Packers, solid game. I don't want to give you too much satisfaction. I think when you have Patrick Mahomes on the verge of elimination,
it is right.
It could make a lot of people happy.
Mm-hmm.
Although in Nebraska, a lot of Kansas City Chiefs fans here, so it could be some sad people.
Yeah, I'd say that it's like a 50-50 split.
Yeah, it's a real love-hate relationship, I think, with Patrick Mahomes across the country. But really, thank you so much for joining me on this first edition of Locked In with Louchheim. My ability to talk about sports really however I want all week long. We'll join you next week for more of this show. Thank you so much for joining.
The savings continue all November long at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln. They're extending their red tag sale with machines priced at invoice plus $300. That's it. No freight, no setup, no extra fees. Plus 10% off snowplow kits,